All right, guys, welcome on in. Super Bowl 55 postgame show starts in just a few seconds here. Welcome on in. Super Bowl 55 postgame show. Buccaneers win it over the Chiefs, and we welcome you on into the Super Bowl postgame show here on JJ Sports and our other networks that are receiving this feed tonight. Welcome on in to the Super Bowl 55 postgame show. This is what we've been waiting for quite a while, is to see Tom Brady take on Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl on the greatest stage in this big time event. Oh, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed this game. I mean, this was a blowout, and let's be honest, it wasn't that great of a football game. It was a pretty dominant game by the Buccaneers, and it was obvious from the start that we could see that Patrick Mahomes' offensive line was very lackluster and very poor. All right. So the big thing in this game that we learned was really that Tom Brady, it doesn't really matter what's going on with him. He's always going to be the GOAT in the NFL. And it sort of just doesn't get any harder or easier for him. But yeah, and I mean, you've got a lot running on the line for his legacy in this game. And I mean, it sort of is what it is. For Patrick Mahomes, he's got plenty of time to become a great star. And I mean, you saw great throws by Mahomes, but he didn't have the time, he didn't have the protection. And on the other side, it was the Kansas City defense was called for a lot of penalties. They bailed out the Buccaneers a lot in the first half, and that big of a deficit in the Super Bowl, especially when the Buccaneers were the home team, they had the home field. It's a lot harder to overcome a deficit when you're on the road in a big time environment. This was probably the most full of a stadium that we had all year. And I don't know if it was the loudest stadium or anything, but it was an exciting environment that they had for this big game. And all right, so that will be a good one. All right. Okay. So, big thing we learned tonight for Brady, it's that he's the GOAT. He's not gonna be stopped anytime soon. He's always going to be up there as the greatest of all time. And he's the greatest in like team sports right now. So I don't really know what to tell you. All right, we learned a lot in this game, and yeah. So let's really start with the first half, and the score halftime I believe was was 6 for the Chiefs and 21 for the Buccaneers. And it was that you could see that field goals were not enough for the Chiefs. There's a lot of momentum that the Chiefs were losing. They called a timeout on that last drive, and it ended up helping the Buccaneers, and they scored a touchdown there. There's a lot of sort of oddities in the play calling for the Chiefs, and I mean, you kind of get what you get with the Chiefs, and yeah, I mean, okay, let's be real here. Let's be real. Let's talk about the legacy for Tom Brady going forward. He's clearly the greatest of all time. You're not going to get any better. Uh, there's not really any other NFL player that you could say is better. And any other team sport athlete, I don't think it's any better. Of course, if you get into individual sport athletes, that's a whole nother story. And I mean, that's really subjective. Now, what you see, all right, what you see for Tom Brady is that he's now played with two different franchises, led him to the Super Bowl. And what else is that he also completed a run of three consecutive road playoff games this year, winning those. I think that's pretty impressive to do that at the age that he's at. And I don't really know what you can really say is wrong for Brady. He's always going to be. Uh, I mean, even if he retires tomorrow, he's going to be the greatest of all time for the foreseeable future. It's going to be really hard for anybody to ever get 210 Super Bowls. I mean, Mahomes is at two. He's at two Super Bowls. So I I don't know, because I think the league is moving in a way where there's more parity than ever, that everyone can always make a run in the next year. That there's a lot of teams making a lot of quarterback moves. We had the Rams uh try to go get Matthew Stafford, and I think that's going to give them a lot more stability at the quarterback position. Matthew Stafford is, I mean, it's an upgrade of Jared Goff, and certainly in experience and leadership. Now it's going to be interesting to see what Stafford can do on the field with the receivers that they have down in LA. Now the thing is that if those experiments fail, it will validate Tom Brady even more as the greatest quarterback in the NFL. He he shouldn't be rooting for people to fail, but ultimately, there's that. Now, the New England sort of perspective on this. If you are if you're Bill Belichick right now, you're feeling really bad. You want to make a move in the offseason to try to rebuild your roster quickly. Because Bill Belichick, he does now have a lot of years left. People said a year or two ago that, well, Bill Belichick's going to coach longer than Brady's going to play. And well, that may not actually be true, because Brady looks like he's got a year, 2, 3 left. But he's going a year at a time, and maybe it gets to a point where he can't play a full 16 game season, and next year they're trying to go to 17 games. So I mean, it's only going to get tougher. All these new players that come to the NFL certainly lost a year of development to an extent this year, and that does hurt player development. So the rookies coming into the NFL may not be quite as good as the previous year, and I think that's a problem with every sport. Really, with the pandemic, here, is, you, lost a lot of player development. But that it is sort of what you got to deal with. I mean, certainly the players in the NFL, when the that were in the NFL this year, they sort of lost some time. They had a lot of COVID outbreaks. They couldn't really do much those weeks, and then they sort of went in the game blind. I mean, that happens, and just had to deal with that. All right. So if you are Bill Belichick, you're gonna want to make a move. You're gonna want to get a player like Deshaun Watson. Like, I mean, it doesn't really matter exactly who they get. It needs to be a playmaker. And I don't know if Bill Belichick's going to draft a quarterback if he wants to draft a quarterback this year because I think that's way too slow. I think Bill Belichick has to break all of his rules or whatever and try to win now this year because I think that there's a lot of culture aspects he still has in his roster in New England, and that can work. But it's you got to get Deshaun Watson is one. Let me think. Maybe Big Ben if they can get him out of Pittsburgh. I don't know. Um, I don't really know what you're gonna see in this offseason, but it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be the craziest offseason we've seen ever. And it really started with Tom Brady going to Tampa. And something like this, where you have a huge roster move, and it changes the entire complexity of the pretty much the entire league, but mainly the NFC, is that the NFC is going to be completely different next year to what it was last year, to what it was when the 49ers won the Super Bowl. It's already far different this year, but next year you see a lot of movement as well. And there are some faces that are going to be in the same position. Think about next year. You got the Lions and the Rams. They're getting new quarterbacks. You have Breeze presumably retiring. Yeah, probably the Bears want to get rid of Trubisky. Yeah, the Panthers. Their situation is kind of interesting. The Washington football team. I don't know what they're going to do. The Eagles certainly. We don't know. Carson Wentz to be traded potentially. I think Wentz is another player that fits right into Belichick's system. Um, he can certainly. I don't know exactly the ones that you have now. I don't know if that's. I can think the rookie Wentz had a different ego, sort of, than the Wentz now that Peterson sort of. But you got the constants. You got Wilson up in Seattle, and you got Rodgers in Green Bay. Those are really the only two that you can count on being there next year. And I would assume that Brady stays in Tampa. I mean, yeah, I don't, I don't see anything other than that happening. Now we thought that Tom Brady could retire a few years ago, and it's certainly possible that Brady retires after this season. It is completely possible. I'm not going to rule that out because we saw Andrew Luck retire, and it was unexpected. So it's completely possible that Brady retires. Not going to rule it out. But I don't but with how Brady has treated retirement in the last couple of years, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's going to retire. But who knows? It's 2021. Anything really is possible. So Tom Brady, his legacy was submitted as the greatest football player of all time in this game. And I mean, what else can you say? He broke a lot of records in his career. Probably going to play next year. Probably going to break more records. Just going to solidify himself as the greatest player of all time. And I mean, it's really about those career achievement awards that he's so close to achieving the vast majority of those career achievement awards. I don't know if there might be a few that Brees still has, but Brady's very, very close to getting. And really, from the aspect of the broadcast itself, today we're talking about the new CBS graphics package that they had today, and I think it's okay. I mean, it's not something that's a standout. Like last year's Fox, I don't even know if you want to call it a box. It's more like a quad or a parallelogram or something that Fox introduced last year. I liked that. I liked how they were bold and they went out with something new. Instead, the CBS graphic that we saw today was sort of, I mean, it was a very safe play. It very reminiscent of the Nickelodeon one that we saw for the Nickelodeon broadcast. And I mean, it's a very safe play. And I don't know. I think there were a lot of issues with people, and like very many people complained that that clock, how you have the quarter and you have the time remaining, that was not centered. And it's a Super Bowl. People are going to be watching these highlights for a while, and you're going to see that. You're just going to probably not watch those highlights as much because it's just going to annoy you to an extent. But overall, that was great. The broadcasters, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, um, they were pretty good. I would say this was better than Jim Nantz and Tony Romo typically are. They're typically a little bit boring at times. I think they brought their A game for this game, and credit to them. I would say Gene Steratore, they definitely blended him in greatly. He was a full part of the broadcast, and sometimes uh, Fox, Fox and Mike Pereira. A lot of times, even though he is supposed to be full part of the broadcast for their Thursday Night Football and their playoff broadcasts, is that it's sort of a tough blend, and and CBS blended Gene perfectly to tonight's broadcast for Super Bowl 55. And I think when you have 2 weeks to prepare, that's sort of what you should do. Is you should make the transition smooth, and that's really what they did. So I think the reporters are fine. I just don't know. A lot of the commercials were really weird, and I mean, I don't know what to tell you about that, but seemed a little bit too much. There wasn't a lot of flavor within the commercials, and the halftime. I didn't really watch the halftime. I'm gonna be honest. You know, I was sort of bored from the game. The first half was sort of just took. It was just there wasn't a lot of excitement. I mean, you saw a few drives that Brady and the Bucks scored on, but other than that, it was sort of a lot of punts, a lot of field goals for the Chiefs, and you know, looking ahead to next year's Super Bowl is going to be NBC. Al Michaels, he's supposed to retire after that Super Bowl next year, and we hope to fully we get there to Super Bowl 56 on NBC. And it's going to be a very, very emotional game for Al Michaels next year. I mean, that's only 12 months away from that amazing Super Bowl 56. So I don't know how they design these logos, but last year's logo versus this year's logo, I think some people have said that they're way too similar. The last year's was like the same thing, but there's just a little eye in there, and the trophy still resembles an eye to some extent. And I don't know. I don't know. It's okay. It really is. So, all right. So, I think I've touched on everything from the broadcast. I don't watch any of the studio stuff. I don't watch any of the studio stuff. I have I don't know. I sort of seen enough of that. I don't like the studio. CBS studio. I mean, Nate Burleson, he's good. Other than that, I mean, it's just some old people talking. I don't know what else to tell you. No offense to anybody on that crew, but it's very inferior to the Fox crew. Where you have, I think Michael Strahan, he is one of the best on Fox, and certainly, yeah, when Michael Vick contributes, it's good. And you also have someone like Terry Bradshaw. I mean, he's Terry Bradshaw. I don't know. A lot of times, I'm just disappointed with Terry Bradshaw. Well, he's just there for the ratings. I don't know. TB, there's a lot of times where he just says stuff way wrong, and it's they just laugh it off, and that's really why what's great is because TB. I mean, like, why are you guys letting Terry Bradshaw do the highlights when he messes up so much now? Again, Terry Bradshaw, he's great. When it's scripted, Terry Bradshaw is perfect. He provides a lot of insight. But when it's live and they're doing those half times, it gets a little funky. All right. So will they add that 17th game? I don't know. I really don't know. But it would be very, very interesting to see. And if you guys want to type in chat, that's great. If you want to do that, so we've got stuff going on here. All right. I think that's going to be it for the post game show. Super Bowl 55 on CBS today. And you only get one of these per year. Last year I was sort of not doing anything. I don't know. Needed a break from covering the NFL for the network. And we're right back here. We're right back Super Bowl. And hope you guys enjoyed Super Bowl 55 on Fox. Not on Fox, on CBS. Guys, it's been a long day, long weekend. So just to put it into perspective, we gotten a lot of snow, a lot of snow where I'm at here. Uh, but we're fine. We're gonna make it through. So again, for all y'all, have a good one and enjoy the rest of the year. And a lot of people are saying that week 1 will probably be Bills at Buccaneers is the projected week 1 game for opening night. I could I don't want to say anything about that, but I think that seems like a matchup that is good, and I think it sounds a little bit like Texans Chiefs from last year, where it's like we hope it's good, but then it kind of doesn't live up to the hype. I don't know. I don't know. That's way too early to say because guess what? We don't know where all these quarterbacks are going right now. So, like Tampa Bay, we didn't even know they were gonna have Tom Brady at the time last year. We didn't know where Tom Brady was going. All we knew is that he got crushed in New England in that wild card game. Things changed so fast in 2021. All right. Hope you enjoy the graphics. Hope you enjoy all of listening to my annoying voice all season long for the Super Bowl post game, and all the way when we started with week 2 pregame. I don't think we did week 1 because I need an extra weekend off. We'll be back. We've got Road to the Final Four coverage. We'll get you set. College basketball as much as we can. I don't know. I can't promise you that much because I haven't really watched a lot of college basketball this season because that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm not really watching that college basketball as much, but it's good.